Rajdeep here just randomly told me like I found someone from IIST who is now studying in Ivy League, and I really got excited and I wanted to connect, and so I sent you a message, and then he said like, okay, we can take guidance from him. So it was very impromptu, and thank you so much that you agreed. So I have collected like a lot of questions from Google form, and we also have people here who might use the chat box to ask questions. So okay, the first thing that like not it was like a repeated question that was asked is like, how did you go about the preparation? Like you worked at Microsoft before joining Columbia, so was that always a part of your plan that you're going to have some work experience and then join a university, or it is something like while working you decided no, you want to continue your studies more?
Okay, so I guess it's echoing.
Is my voice echoing?
No, my voice is echoing, I guess.
No. I think I can hear it clearly.
Okay, so let me give a brief intro about myself. So I started at IIEST in 2014. I'm actually from the first batch of IIEST. I completed my bachelor's in from the IT department, and I graduated in 2018. Thereby, I worked at Microsoft for 3 years, and then finally joining here at Columbia in 2021 fall semester. So that's about me. And yeah, so basically, I had plans for MS from the time I was in my second year. That's, I think, the third semester. Initially, it was an MBA preparation. I started with the GMAT preparation, but I then switched to GRE because I wanted to explore the technical field more. Then after that, I started applying. I gave my GRE actually when I was doing my final year in college because the scores are anyways valid for 5 years. So I answered that. But I did not, the thing about working and work X is, I think it's, it depends on what kind of job you are into. Because MS is not at all about technical knowledge. MS is all about research, especially in the field of computer science. So if you are into if you get into some research-oriented roles, then I think it's better to work. If you are practically into software development, that doesn't hold much of an edge when you are getting into here in terms of getting jobs and all. But it may give you some ideas about some projects that you might do, projects and assignments that may help you, because we are like, I'm right now doing a course which is basically developing applications on AWS cloud. So people with work experience are, it's beneficial for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends.
Okay.
I mean, it's not mandatory to have work experience, but yeah, I mean, having an experience is not bad at all.
Okay, so do you feel like on the contrary, it strengthens your application more, just having a work experience, and that too in Microsoft?
I don't think so. Because if you are if you are an MS candidate in computer science, what matters more is your research experience rather than your technical experience.
Okay, so that is surely a point.
We have people here who are fresh from college, and they have also gotten into the university and they are doing pretty well. So it doesn't matter to have, technical knowledge, but it's definitely beneficial to have some research experience. Get some research papers if you're not getting any research oriented jobs. So it's better to get some research experience, research papers in good journals or conferences.
Yeah, okay. So the second most popular question asked was like, GRE score is one part of the application, but what would you say like acceptable GRE score is to get into like top universities, or how did you go about preparing, like the time span you took, or like how you went about your preparation for the GRE? Because the verbal section is somewhere we score the lowest.
Yeah, that's true. But frankly, I think GRE is not mandatory anymore, and most of the universities, you guys can just have a look. But yeah, going about from the GRE score, I think 325 plus 325 should be the bare minimum you should be targeting. Mine was, I actually gave GRE twice. The first one, it was in the first attempt, it was 314. So I never applied with that score to anywhere. Then I answered GRE again after about 6 to 10 months. And then it was 325. But the edge this time was that I got a perfect score in quant. So yeah, it depends on your day as well. Yeah. So 325 should be the bare minimum if you're looking for top colleges. But frankly, top colleges never look at your GRE score.
So we have an attendee here, Anubhav, who actually has quite a bit of research experience. Like he's currently working with some professor, I guess, and he had a question about LORs. Like, how much of an important portion are good LORs from professor valued or weighted in your application?
LORs from good professors is not a very correct term to use, but LORs are very important actually for your application, and you should be very smart with your LORs. So don't just take LORs from random people, random professors. Like you must have done some research project in your fourth year, so it's always preferable to have an LOR from the project mentor, and not just some random professor who might have taught you some course in XYZ semester, but it's always important to have someone who knows you very well, and never go and look that this professor is a senior professor. This professor is the head of the department, so his LOR will be more valuable. That's never the case. Always go with people who know you well, and they can write good things about you, at least for a page. And if you have work experience, like I'm assuming that you guys are all from college, so you are all planning for MS right now, or maybe you might have plans of working and then applying for MS. So if you are working at any place, it is always preferable to have more LORs from that place as compared to having more LORs from the professors, because this is a very common misconception in that people have, that you should get, if you're working, you should get 2 LORs from professors and 1 LOR from work. I actually did the reverse. I got 2 LORs from work and 1 from my professor, from my project mentor. That is because LORs should come from people who have been interacting with you most recently. So if you spend more than 6 months at your work, so it is always advisable to have, not advisable, it's obvious that people who know you at work, they would be knowing you, like the person you are most recently. So it is always better to have LORs from them. So actually I took 4 LORs. I think many universities allow more than 3 LORs. So I kept a 4th as a standby. So I took 2 LORs. In every application, I gave the first 2 LORs from my company and 1 LOR from my project mentor. If more than 3 were allowed, I got another LOR from another professor who knew me well. But I did not do any projects with him. So he in my priority list, he was the 4th one. So yeah, so you have to be very smart with your LORs. Many times, especially in IIEST, professors will ask you to write LORs and then give it to them so that they can just put their name and send it over. These people, they never look at what you have written. Okay, just so be very smart. If you're writing LORs for 2 people, make sure that the content is entirely different. That you are writing about one particular thing in one LOR and another thing in another LOR. In my case, out of 4 LORs, I wrote 3 of them myself. So I had to spend a lot of time focusing on different things for different people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you would say the best practice is to take a LOR from a person who knows you well. Like you have some work to put in your CV and under his supervision, and that would be the best person to take a LOR from. And so,
yeah, kind of people who have worked with you, who know you well, who have known you for a significant period of time, that should be the person ideally giving you the LOR.
So you are doing your MS in machine learning, and we actually have a lot of machine learning enthusiasts here. So did you explore machine learning starting from your undergraduate, or did you explore it like after you graduated and you found it interest? Like, I think it is very daunting. LOR has different fields in it. Like we have people here who are very interested in natural language processing, and some are into neural networks. So did you do any research internship in your undergraduate, or how did you go about?
So basically, I'm not doing my master's in machine learning. It's actually master's in computer science, master of science in computer science. And so when you join here, you have to select a particular track of your majoring track, basically. So I chose machine learning because almost 80% of the people do that here. The rest of them are NLP and theory. Uh, um, I think there's computer vision as well, robotics and all. So, and if you speak about machine learning specifically, machine learning is a very vast field. So the basic is mathematics, linear algebra, statistics. Um, if you've done these things like regression, if you've done classification and all. So basically, you have already done the basics of machine learning. So linear algebra, calculus, matrices, matrix operations, these are just the basics of ML. ML is a very vast topic. You have a lot of things which branch out from ML, such as artificial intelligence, NLP. These are all branches of ML, specialized versions of ML. So uh, basically, I mean, uh, I did not have much of an experience in machine learning beforehand. I don't have that experience even now. I can say that. I am doing a few courses which are pretty theoretical, and yeah, I've got another semester left. I'm just looking for a few more courses, but it's nothing you cannot. I mean, you cannot do online. There are a lot of YouTube lectures and Coursera work where you can just go through the ML theoretical part, and then you can move on to the applied ML part.
Okay,
So
so
that is, I mean, that is the same for every other field like AI, NLP, neural networks, and all. Neural networks is basically deep learning, so it's the same for all.
okay, so like given that you have just a semester left, and you already said that you had research inclination always, so are you going for a PhD, or will you be looking for internships and job offers? Like,
No, most of the people here go for direct industry job. So even I'm going to do the same. I'm looking for internships right now. Not, I mean, I can go into research, but I would still prefer to be in an industrial researcher role rather than, going into the PhD line and being a university researcher.
yeah, okay. Uh, so like as students, like most of us are actually just completing our third semester, so in second year,
Mm.
and like initially it was planned to be a very close event with 4 or 5 people who actually have goal of giving GRE and going abroad, but then we later decided to open it if more people are interested. So like giving GRE and going is like it is a very daunting task. So how will you say, like, to break it up in chunks? Like how did you approach it? Like you said about like giving GRE, you appeared for it twice, but the thing is, if someone who does not want to actually work and directly go, so they have to be more fast in their preparations, like be more calculative if they really don't want to go, like take the work experience route and then appear. So can you give some like a roadmap kind of thing, like, okay, so by third semester you should target this, or by fifth you should target this? So will you give us something of a roadmap, or do you think just like to go with the flow?
Yeah. So if you plan to go directly, then obviously it depends on which course you are targeting. Many of my friends have gone to MSBA, MSIT courses, which are fairly technical. Many have gone to MBA courses, which is again management. Some people like me have gone for MS in CS. So Master of Science, there is a difference the two parts. It's MS and your graduating degree. So if you're looking for courses like computer science courses are fairly research based. So your SOP and all should have something to show your research. If you're going for courses like MSIT or MSBA, then basically your analytics kind of projects or any normal projects that you do, technical projects, those will do. It's basically depends on which type of degree you are targeting. And yeah, so yeah, if you are in the second year right now, I suggest you start preparing for GRE probably from the start of your third year. Give it a lot of time, because if you are preparing for the first time, give it at least 6 months, and then you answer the exam. That's the first step. And if you get a good score, then immediately book a slot for TOEFL. You don't need to specifically prepare for TOEFL. It's very easy, and TOEFL score doesn't matter if you just, and it's very easy to score above 110. So you can do these two, and then you have about a year. When you are in the fourth year, I think your semester starts in July, right? Yeah, your semester starts in July. The application deadlines usually start from mid-November, and most of the deadlines are in mid-December. So if you start writing your SOP from the start of your fourth semester, writing an SOP is a tedious task. It takes about you have to write a lot of drafts and then come up with the final one. So it takes about 18 to 20 drafts to get your final SOP done in 2 pages. So yeah, I would suggest you start with your SOP sometime in July, and when you are in the fourth year. You start approaching for letter of recommendations also at that time. So you might, by that time, you will have good connections with your professors. You would have projects as well. And yeah, so if you're looking for a research-based course, I think IIST does not offer a research project when you're in the third year, but they do have a year-long research project when you are in the fourth year. So when you're in the fourth year, you would not have time to do the research project completely before putting it in your SOP. You should start approaching professors right now. You will get to learn a lot. You'll have a lot of time right now because you don't have to look for internships and all right now. So you should start approaching professors right now. Get into some research projects, start doing them. So kind of if you finish it by the end of your fifth semester, you have a lot of time to go and publish it in some conference or journal. Okay, so that doing a project does not matter that much as it matters that get some publication from a renowned like IEEE or Scopus Index, some conference or journal. Okay, that holds a very huge weight. So yeah, so basically you can I think that's so the first thing you should be targeting right now is looking for research projects if you want to go into research based courses. If then probably from the next year you can start answering the exams. You can answer GRE, you can hold off TOEFL for the last moment as well. That doesn't matter. Don't answer IELTS if you want to go into USA courses. And if you want to come to US, if you want to go to Europe, then you have to answer IELTS. But just answer TOEFL. It's very easy. And yeah, so that's I think the timeline. Your SOPs and all can wait until your fourth year, SOPs, LORs. And then there's the basic application process. You have to just shortlist 10 to 15 universities. I recommend 10 universities because it's very costly, applying to one university. And yeah, that's it. Then when you apply, and yeah, there's a trick. If most of the many universities, not most, many universities have a priority deadline. Like I remember Carnegie Mellon has a priority deadline of I think 30th November every year, and a final deadline of 15 December. Columbia has a priority deadline of first week of January, and they have another deadline in February. But people who apply after this first priority deadline, half of them are immediately rejected. So it's always advisable to apply before the priority deadline for any university if you're applying to.
Okay, so from what I have heard is like UK follows the same thing too, like rolling admissions.
Yeah.
But I guess you answered all this question already. Like it's in ask the chats, like how many colleges did you apply to? So how long did the shortlisting process take? Like, because there are so many universities and
Yeah,
how did you go about it?
shortlisting will take about, I mean, it depends. First of all, you have to be very, confident with your profile. And depending on your profile, you shortlist universities. So the shortlisting works in three parts. You have to choose. So if you are applying for 10 universities, let's say, so the first three would be your dream universities. The You had three, right? So your next four would be moderate level, which dream is like basically you have 25% chance of getting into. Moderate is uh, at least 50% chance of getting into, and then you have the three safe universities, which are basically where you have more than 75% chance of getting into. So it all depends on your profile. By your profile, I mean how strong your SOP is, how great your LORs are, then how much research experience do you have if you are applying to a research-based course, and what else? Scores, obviously, but yeah, your GPA. I forgot to mention this before. There are a few universities like USC, Purdue, which have a very uh, which give a lot of importance to GPA. So if you're from India and you have a 9 CGPA, 9 or above CGPA, from any college, USC is guaranteed to take you. So I always kept USC in my safe universities list based on my profile, but I never got into USC because my CGPA was 8.62, which is less than 9. But many people who have much poorer profile have gotten into that because their CGPA was 9.
Okay, so based on research internships, we have a question here. Like after just completing the Coursera courses, is it possible to get a research internship? If yes, then how?
I don't think that getting a research internship should be that hard. Research is basically, you know, uh, getting technical internship is more difficult because you have to give some technical interviews. You have to show your knowledge in that technical field. But getting a research internship is, I don't think that should be a matter. All you need to learn nowadays, it's mainly Python. Just you need to learn a coding language. Then you can just approach some professor. They would be working on a few things. They would have some PhD candidates working with them. So you can just approach them and you can start off with a research project anytime.
Yeah, okay.
And basically, at this point in undergrads, I mean, your point is valid for people like me who are doing masters. So when we apply to research projects, we have to show that we have some experience in that field because, frankly, these people are the top researchers in their field in the entire world. They have H index of like 93, 117. We have Nuth Award winners, we have Turing Award winners here. So, but they don't just take random people. But at the undergrad level, I don't think getting a research internship would be that difficult. Just approach any professor. You can ask them, tell them that you are interested in this project. You have gone through, obviously, you have to do some homework before you ask them. Just go through their project, speak to a few people, get to know about that, and then just ask them that you want to be a part of this project. And since you are applying for masters later on, this is going to be beneficial for you too.
Okay, so
And
you
yeah,
would say,
Coursera courses would definitely help if you so that you can get some background knowledge. But yeah, getting a research internship, I mean internship, I don't know, but yeah, getting some research projects would be definitely easier. Getting research internships in good places like Adobe and Microsoft and all can be difficult because Microsoft Research is a whole different unit of Microsoft, and they rarely hire undergrads. Most of the people there are like in a team of 20, there would be just two master students. Rest of them all would be PhDs. So yeah, so I suggest going after a research project rather than a research internship. The research internships are usually longer in duration, so I don't think the college would anyways allow that.
Yeah. Okay. So coming to the SOP point, you said like we have to dedicate a lot of time to SOP. So we have a question here which says like, what will you say are the criterias for like a better or a well-crafted SOP? Like what points did you keep in mind while drafting yours?
So basically, with your SOP, you have to be very discreet. First of all, come up with a theme based on which you will write your story. SOP is basically your story. Don't just paraphrase your resume in your SOP. It gets rejected directly because SOP is the most important part of your application. So don't just paraphrase your SOP. I mean your resume. So basically, my theme was I'll tell you about my research project in IIEST was based on mathematical analysis of water pollution data. So I did two projects in this thing. I had two papers. Then I had a project with Microsoft Research where I worked for a very short period of time, but I worked on visualization dashboard for air pollution. So you get a theme from here that I have projects. I have worked on projects which were based on pollution. Okay, that's nowhere related to computer science, but I have got a theme. Okay, now the big task comes: how you build that story that pollution became a part of your life, how that motivated you to into the field of computer science, how you implemented computer science, your knowledge of computer science to counter these problems, and the fourth part, which is the conclusion of your SOP, is how do you plan to use your knowledge from MS to take this further, and how is the particular course from this particular university going to help you for that.
Okay, so in your SOP, the main thing that stood out was it had just one center point and you revolved around it, like showing
Yes.
your future aspirations. So, like, there are people here who have explored a bit of something. So, will you say it plays for the negative towards them? Like, it shows them they're not focused, or do you think it does not matter so much? Like, there can be someone who has a project on one particular thing and another project on a completely different thing.
So you can answer a question like this by writing about the two projects, somehow linking them together, that you worked on the first one, gained this and that experience. How did that motivate you to go into something else, explore something else? And now how are you going to try to take your knowledge from the two projects and then build on top of that?
Yeah, okay. So like we somehow have to come up with like one constructed thing, like not separate.
Yeah,
S-
it can be
Uh,
separate, but you have to show your inclination. Like they cannot be too divergent. One cannot be computer science, one cannot be mechanical engineering.
okay. So we actually have a question here, like, does an all-round profile help to make your profile exemplary? So I mean, like, I think he wants to say like having research projects as well as maybe company internships, like I think that would count as all-round profile, or how would you say like a profile
Yeah,
stands out to them?
yeah. I mean, if you're doing some significant work in internships, that also counts. I also had two internships, but my internships were not fitting into my story, so I just wrote two lines about those, that I did my internship here and in this year and all that. But I just used two lines of my SOP for that, because you know you can have a story which is which comes from your internships, so you can write about your internships in that way. You can link your research experience in that way. So
Yeah, okay.
my SOP, because my internships were fairly technical, web front end ones, which were not basically fitting into the pollution scenario. So I just wrote two lines on that. But yeah,
Uh,
you should of course have an all round profile.
Okay, so Pragya here has a question like, so it is not necessary to have a fairly good working knowledge in the field to get a research project. I think you answered this, like
I
just to
think,
approach.
yeah. I mean, at this stage of your career, I don't think anyone is expecting you to have, background knowledge or good working knowledge, just to quote you. So, because at this stage, what people are expecting that you participate in a research project, you do research on your own, and then that's how you learn things. Right? At this stage, I don't think that should be necessary, because unless if that was the case, then in your fourth year, they would never give you, a list of projects to select from.
Okay, we actually have a very fairly straightforward question here, like how much does it cost in an Ivy League university?
Without scholarships and excluding the living cost, you can expect so around 60 to 65 lakhs in tuition, and then your living cost depends on how you live, where you live. So I think uh, three Ivies are in the tri-state area, so that's fairly costly. Stanford is not an Ivy. Carnegie Mellon, yeah. Pittsburgh is slightly cheaper, but the rest of them, like Brown, are also costly. Yeah. So somewhere around, like, if you want to live lavishly, it's going to cross 1 crore. If you are restricting yourself, you can count somewhere around 80-85 lakhs. I think 85 to 90 would be a nice bet. But this is, I'm not considering any scholarship, any stipend, any stipend from internships. So this is how much I think it should cost you, which is, I think, the same with top some private universities like USC is also charging the same amount. Carnegie Mellon is also charging the same amount.
So,
So yeah,
so how fairly common is it for someone to actually get scholarship or like have part of their tuition fee funded through some scholarship or stipend?
Ivy Leagues are known to not give scholarships. There are many other publicly funded universities that do. Because like in Columbia, I haven't got a scholarship, but if you go to NYU, which is just a few miles away, people do get scholarship there, just at the time of admission. But yeah, but there are a lot of incentives involved when you are into a master's course. So we get a stipend here for doing the course assistant work, which is basically an RATA. RA depends on how much funding your professor has. TA amounts are fixed. Then uh, for Columbia, actually, there is a scholarship, but it is highly competitive. Many people don't even know about it. The applications for that scholarship, they close before your results come out. So basically, if you are applying to Columbia, you have to immediately apply for that scholarship as well, whether or not you have gotten an admit or not. And then yeah, then there's a stipend, and obviously when you do your internship after 2 semesters, you get a lump sum amount. So that basically funds your final semester.
Yeah. So that somewhat covered the funding part, but we really have an important question here. I think it's like so the person wants to ask is like, if there is a professor who is currently in a university working in some projects, so can he refer to the professor and say in his SOP like my research work is quite inclined towards his, and I think I like his work, I've read his research paper. Will it count as a positive point towards him, like towards the SOP?
So, I mean, you're referring to a professor in the university you're applying to, or
Yeah.
from your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. A professor
That
into the university he's applying to.
that actually is the second last paragraph of your SOP, wherein you have to write about what I recommend writing about two professors or maybe a research lab at that particular university, because that shows that you have researched about that university, you know where you want to go into. So that basically shows your interest in applying to that particular university. So that is a very important paragraph of your recipe. That is basically the second last one. The last one would be just 2 or 3 lines of conclusion. The second last one is this particular thing. So you have to do a lot of research, look up professors. Don't just look for popular names. You can fall into a big trouble if you just find a popular name and write about that professor. Because if you heard about this guy Avram Blum, uh, if you look up Columbia's faculty website, you will find his name, Professor Avram Blum. Uh, his son also used to teach here. His wife also used to teach here, and these guys are very popular. Any of you knows what these guys invented?
Anyone knows in the chat? Because I don't. Okay, I don't think anyone does.
Okay, so you use this feature every day, I think. I think most of you would have used it. It's called CAPTCHA, the CAPTCHA images.
Yeah.
When you are verifying that, it was developed by Avram Blum and I think his wife, Lenore Blum. And there was another guy, I don't remember his name. But these guys, all three of them are, if you look up Columbia's faculty website, you will find that they are listed as professors here. Okay, so yeah, but there was some incident at Columbia because of which not Columbia, Carnegie Mellon. These guys were professors at Carnegie Mellon. So if you look up that faculty, you will find them. So, but due to some incident, they resigned, but their names were still listed as professors there. Okay, so if by mistake, if you write their names, your application would be immediately rejected. Same goes with, at Columbia, you have a lot of popular people. If you have done the compiler course, have any of you done that?
We don't have compilers in this semester yet.
Yeah, so when you do the compiler course, they will recommend a book from this author, Al Aho. His full name is Alfred Aho. He is a professor at Columbia. And I think if you are in computer science, you would have heard of this book, right? The analysis of algorithms by Corman.
Yes. Corman, I think most of us have the book.
Yeah, so the third author there, Clifford Stein, is a professor here. So these guys are regular people. So it is okay to write about them because these are famous people and it is okay to write about them. So Clifford Stein is basically a professor in the Data Science Institute. So if you're writing for computer science, writing an SOP for computer science, so probably not mention his name. So I'm just giving you examples like how many of you have heard of this person, Barn Strussup?
Has anyone?
Barne.
Okay, develop C++. Okay, I think Shubham has.
Yeah, so he's the developer of C++ language. He's very old and he's an adjunct professor here. So he's actually going to teach in the spring semester. That is the next semester. His class is already 6 times overbooked. So yeah, but since he's an adjunct professor here, he does not participate in research. And if you're applying for a CS-based course, it is not advisable to write his name.
Okay, so we have to take care of very minute details while crafting the SOP. It is.
So that is why I'm saying that it takes about a month and a half, probably 2 months to finalize your SOP. You have to do a lot of research.
So we actually have another question here. It's like, I have some relevant research experience and I'm still exploring, but is having a research publication absolutely necessary?
To show your research, yes, I would recommend to have a publication. If you can afford more than one, that's even better. Overall, and I don't go just to any conference. You'll find a lot of online conferences, journals, which guarantee that they will publish your paper, but that's of no use because these conferences are not worthwhile to publish your work in, right? So always go for some good renowned ones like IEEE. My 2 papers were in IEEE and it was an international conference.
Okay. So So are you more suggesting towards independent research or research under a professor, like a supervision of a professor? So what do
Either
you
would
think
be,
holds?
doesn't matter.
What is the major differences did you notice between the academia in India as well as like in US?
There's actually a lot of difference in India. You have a fixed syllabus. I mean, the syllabus is fixed here as well, but the thing is, in India, they would, just skip the more advanced part, never touch upon them, and probably set up a new course because that's what happened in my time. So when we were doing the algorithms course, so I think they stopped at dynamic programming, and we had a different course for graph algorithms altogether, which is basically two courses. But here I am doing the algorithms course, and we have done everything, basically everything. I mean, uh, things which I had not even, you know, heard of before. Like we have done basic algorithms, we have done randomized algorithms, we have done all the graph algorithms, we have done all the NP completeness, NP hard, and obviously the dynamic programming, 3-4 dynamic programming basic type of questions. So yeah, basically they cover everything. And the people teaching here, like I said before, they are the top researchers in their field. So the professor who is teaching algorithms right now, he has an H index of 93, which is a pretty big deal. He's about 70 years old right now, but he's still participating in research. He has that big an index. His uh, his advisor was this guy. I think, yeah, this was this year's Turing Award winner, Jeffrey Ullman. So these are top researchers in their fields. They have like 20, 25 publications every year. So they know their stuff pretty deeply. So it's always, they try to teach as much as they can in that limited time, and you have to cope up with the work. So basically in India, you do, I think, 5 courses in a semester. Here we do 4, but 4 is like very heavy for us. So you have to be very thorough with everything. Similarly, with the AI course, with the AI that I did in my undergrad, uh, okay, are you guys able to hear me? Can you just ping me in the chat? Okay, cool. So yeah, uh, so just like the AI course which I did in the undergrad, I think we stopped fairly quickly, like in I think rational agents or something, which was covered, I think 4 or 5 classes, was from the start of the semester here. So right now in AI, we are doing ML, applications of ML like perceptron and linear regression and all. So yeah, so the courses are very advanced here, and yeah, you have to learn to cope up with them.
So you will say like the learning is more fast paced in US than in.
And fast paced, and I think the most recent things are taught here. So these people, like I said, they are top researchers. So whatever research they do, they try to incorporate that in their teaching. Like for example, I last semester I did a course which was called Advanced Database Systems. So this professor who taught this subject is basically entirely his research. His research is being used by companies like Google to build their systems. So this course was about retrieving data from the internet. Like if you have done the databases course, you would have done basic SQL queries. Like you have a table, you write some query, specific query, retrieve the data. But the difference comes in the real life application. How do you get the result? Like if you do a simple Google search, if you write something, how do you get the most viable result immediately? So that's what that's how large scale databases work. So this course was all about that, document retrieval from uh, search engines and all. So like companies like Google, Microsoft Bing, Google, and I think Yahoo has also, they have also participated with him on the research. They have used all those concepts there. If you've heard of Google's PageRank algorithm, which was pretty new, I think it came somewhere around, I think 14, 15 years ago. So all these research work existed before that. So, these guys do the research and then they teach you.
Okay,
I
so
mean, yeah, the professors there also, they do the research, but what they are teaching is, already from the books. Now, they are not teaching anything from their own research, but here it is the opposite.
I definitely hope you're really enjoying your time there. And like we have a lot of attendees, like does someone have any question of their own which they did not submit in the Google form or did not write here? Please, can you give some more questions, because I've covered the ones that have been submitted in Google Forms and we have taken from the chat box itself. Okay. I think we don't have any more questions coming, because you really answered the major chunk, which was like even before I went and said in my group that, okay, I guess he will be able to give us some time and clear our doubts. A big chunk of the questions were about the SOP, like how do we write it, or what are the criteria that like ticks the box of a good, well-formed, constructed SOP. So really thank you for that, and really thank you for taking out the time. I know it's like late at night where you are. So I think we will end the session here, and like we are really grateful that you at least took some time out for us, and it was lovely to talk to you. So yes, thank you so much.
No problem. I was happy to help and interact with some college juniors after a long time.